Hello everyone, it's time for another tip of the week. I got many questions regarding what color do I use, how I use them, etc. So I think I will spend this week and the next few tips talking about how I go approach to colors and how I use them in watercolor. Color can be very complicated and the color theory can be very boring, but I will try my best. So what you see here, this chart, this is the this has 12 colors. All these are the colors that's in my palette as my main go-to colors. I've been using the exactly same group of colors in the past 10 or so years, and it works for me. It may not work for you, but you know, that's how I'm going to explain to you why I'm using this. This one is marked because I no longer use it, so you can ignore that. I put a name under the description of this video, so you can check out the names. The brand is not important, and I don't associated with any brand company, so I don't even need to mention it here. So that's pretty much about the 12 colors I use, mainly 2 yellows, 2 blues, 2 reds, and a few browns, and plus a black, and there's extra type of blues. My palette itself is exactly the same as this one. Let me show you. So here is my palette. You probably see in the other tip as well. I blocked these because those are occasional colors, and then I use them and take them out and keep them for a while and change them. So we don't need to really worry about it. So these are the 12 colors that I constantly use, mainly 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 blues, and 2 other extra blues, and a few browns, and plus a black. So that's how I use my colors. I like to keep the palette extremely simple, but my main approach is to mix the colors directly on the paper and utilizing the white paper plus the amount, under control amount of water with the pigment to achieve my desired colors to use in the painting. Today we're going to talk about red colors. I have only 2 reds in my palette, one towards orange-ish red and another more towards purple. But this is a good combination to cover almost like any type of reds, from a very dark one to very light one. Here are some real flowers. You can see from what we call pink to reddish orange and to burgundy, very deep red. I can use these colors to basically paint every shades, you know, from any type of these flower petals. The approach is use water and your white paper as the combination to get different shades, instead of getting the exactly tube colors in your palette and just use that color. In this way, it's going to be much more interesting. The flowers we just saw, there is a pink type. The pink actually is towards cooler red from my view. So what I'm doing is I'm getting my cooler reds, which is a purplish red compared to this one, and I'm just adding a lot of water. So now you already see it become a very nice, very translucent pink. So what I can do is I can just simply paint the rose petals this way, and on the paper, the whites from the paper itself is actually making the pink even lighter if I want to. Okay, so that's the petal I'm doing. And on the shady part of this pink, what I'm seeing is it become more purple, and I can also grade down this purple with a little bit of a yellow to make it a little muddy, but not that muddy. So this is the center of the flowers I'm leaving, and then this is the rest of shadowed pink color. See, I don't have any pink color, but this one color diluted with water already provided sufficient variations when I paint on the paper. So that's the petal part. I will leave this one a little bit for now. And the middle part, the center part, there's pretty dark reds in the different shades. So I'm just adding a little bit of more blue, which is a little too cool. So, you know, I can blend the other red and warm up a little bit and put the darker part in the shadow of these roses. So you see, I haven't really done anything, and I haven't really used any other red color to copy the exact, but here is the rose that's pretty much already there. Okay, so that's what I have for now, and I think this one I can add a little bit more cooler color in there. What is a cooler? It is a blue, so I just put in ultramarine blue and coated it down a little bit and make a little muddy, little dirtier is what we say, and then concentrate on the shape of the flower itself. Okay, so now the lighter, you see now the mixed reds on the palette, it basically covers anything as the pink I can approach. So I'm just using the water, and this way all these nice colors among the different pinks will be there instantly. And let me see. So here's some whites. And I will wait until dry and finish the darker part of this rose petal. Okay, so now that's a pink rose painted without any pink from my palette. The color is fresh and it's changing all the way in there. Let me put a little darker ones. See if I can do this. It's still pretty wet. I'll just try to achieve this. Okay, so yeah, I will save the rest for later. So I see it's pretty much the depths of the pink, and the flower itself is already there. How many pinks we have? It's a lot of them, but I was painting without any pink. The same concept applied to a more of orange ish reds. Okay, so I have two colors again. So this time I'm going to go more of on this red, but I use the other one as the combination as I needed to. And I think I'll go with a little bit yellow. So you see now it's a beautifully towards orange without any orange in my palette. But to me, it's still red. So let's see if I can add one here without messing up the first one. Okay, so here is the rose shape. Let me see. Here it's, let me see, here it's more yellow. So I'm just directly pull some yellow in there. And this direct approach in the watercolor is the best way to achieve the freshness and the richness in terms of the color. So I'm just pulling a few petals, just a few. And here is a little bit more. Down there, it's a little cooler because the rose petal shades each other, creating the depth. So I'm just adding a little bit of, I just pull little dirty blue from the other reds I used before and add there. So now you see the variation of this more of an orange red is already pretty rich. So when it's dry, I'm going to add the darkest part in the middle. Okay, so it's still wet. A little bit more of the orange is red. Let me see. It probably wouldn't stay because it's still pretty wet. So I should be waiting instead of painting. But you got the idea how these reds can be working towards each other. And you see all these fresh blendings by itself is absolutely something that I cannot mix from my palette directly. It's the interaction that's on the paper, the most beautiful part about watercolor. So here's a little bit more. I'll see. And you see that one more time, it's pretty much there, but once it gets drier, I will try to finish it because I don't have that lens for the video. I only have a few more minutes to go. Okay, so now pretty much the way that we did was the two reds. There is so many different reds that you can get without having the actual pigment in the palette. So that's how watercolor works. Okay, the paper, the water, the amount, and the interaction between the limited colors directly on the paper is the best way to approach for the watercolor to have the richness as you're looking for. So if you insist to get many exact colors from your palette from the direct tube, usually you wouldn't be able to get this much richness directly on the paper. Okay. So mixing colors on the paper directly, use a limited color palette and utilize the mixing directly on the paper itself and to get as much as we can. Okay, so that's compared to this one and this one, you definitely see the pink towards a lot purple, which is towards this type of red, and this one towards a lot orange. In reality, it is this way, but artistically, I emphasized a lot more, so it becomes much more interesting and it's related to each other better. Okay, so that's the explanation about how to use the red. Thanks for watching.